Back home, the Australian group Mates in Construction are building up to something big in May to support mental health initiatives around the country. The charity is challenging Aussies to lace up, swim or cycle in the virtual Mates Big Lap event with an ambitious target of hitting a combined 15,000 kilometres. Joining us live now is Chris Lockwood. He's the CEO of Mates in Construction. Chris, really appreciate you making the time. Thank you. I was reading earlier that construction workers are 6 times more likely to die from suicide than an accident at work. So, I mean, this is clearly a huge challenge for the industry.
Look, it is a real challenge. It's a problem. It's real that the industry's actually recognised and taken the lead in terms of actually stepping up to say we've got to do something about it. And that's why Mates was established 15 years ago, because it's a problem that exists in our industry, but it's also something we can actually do something about. And that's what the Mates program was established on the premise that each bit of work that we do every day is with a colleague, with a mate, and we can always step forward to help a mate when they're struggling. So suicide and struggling with mental health, it's something we can all deal with in the workplace.
So, Chris, what are the driving factors here? What actually puts construction workers at a higher risk than other young Australian men, do you think?
Look, it's a good question, and we're still building the evidence base on that, but we do know there are some very real challenges in terms of those working on the ground on sites around the country in construction and some of the other industries we work in, of course, energy, mining and manufacturing. The nature of the hours of work, often shift work, extended hours of work, can see workers actually removed from their social connections, from their family, from their friends, and from the connections that they will rely on to keep them safe when they might be struggling. And that's one element of it. There's also the reality that I use the analogy of a bit like a city skyline where you have the buildings going like that. You have periods of work and no work, often for people in construction, and that can provide financial struggles in terms of managing the finances between roles. So when you combine some of those real life issues, financial struggles, the removal of social connection, which can lead to family and relationship struggles, and sadly, yes, we know in the Australian population there can be struggles with drug and alcohol as a way of actually coping with the struggles that we deal with in life. When these combine, it can actually lead to a larger effect that actually can see someone genuinely struggling and thinking about suicide. And that's why we know those people in the workplace, our mates that we actually work with every day, are going to be the best ones to sit there and actually be able to step forward and offer help when they see someone actually struggling. And that's what the Mates program's actually built around, giving people the skills, the comfort to understand that they can ask that simple question about how someone's actually going, have a genuine conversation if they see someone struggling at work, and then connect them off to the help that they actually need. There are lots of services, lots of help available to many of us around the country, no matter where we are, even though there can be a struggle at different times to access some of them. But actually making sure we connect people to the help they need. As blokes, we're not always the best at sticking our hand up and saying that we're struggling, but we're pretty good at actually offering help when we see someone actually in need. So turning that focus onto when someone's struggling with their mental health and wellbeing or potentially thinking about suicide. We know that's how the program works, and it's embedded in the workplace. It's owned by the workers and the volunteers on sites and work sites around the country. So a simple idea that actually delivers.
And has that been a big hurdle? Yeah. Has that been a big hurdle to jump in terms of getting people on these sites to have those conversations that you're talking about? Do you think mental health is still a really taboo subject among construction workers? Is there still a sort of macho culture playing into this, do you think?
Look, when Mates started 15 years ago, I think it's fair to say it was taboo. It was actually talking about mental health and suicide in a workplace setting wasn't something that was normal to do. And I have to say, I look at my forebears who actually founded the program, and I have absolute respect because they saw that this was a place where we really could actually make a difference. And so that taboo is really diminishing, and it's nowhere near what it was once upon a time, reducing that stigma. And we realise the workers, once they undergo the Mates program, it's a simple 1 hour piece on site for all workers to go through, and then people volunteer out of that to step forward as volunteer connectors or assist workers. It actually does activate within all of us in the workplace that idea that it is something that we can have an honest conversation about. So I guess the whole premise of the Mates program is about removing that stigma and giving people the confidence to step forward. And it does work. So often people think that construction workers might be, toughen up princess, you've got to be a bit bulletproof. But the reality is that some of those genuinely tough workplaces that actually have the Mates program so thoroughly enmeshed that it actually really is just a part of how we do work. We all have to be mates looking after each other.
So Chris, how can people get involved in this event that you're planning next month? What's the plan?
Well, it's a simple thing. You can Google Mates Big Lap, you'll find it. It's a fundraiser we're doing. It's a virtual event where we're encouraging everyone to actually step forward, run, walk, cycle, roll. However, you might be able to get your kilometres up. We'll collectively add our kilometres together and see if we can do a big lap, or how many big laps of Australia we might be able to do. And it's a great way to actually get a bit of fun and exercise while actually supporting a genuine cause that actually improves outcomes for all of us at work.
Chris Lockwood, really appreciate you making the time. Best of luck with the event. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Ash. Looking forward to seeing how it goes. One big lap coming up.
Yeah, and if people would like to get involved, they can head to that website. Just a reminder, matesbiglap.go, fundraise.com.au. And if this story has raised any issues for you or for a loved one, as Chris mentioned, help is available. You can call Lifeline on 13 11 14.